Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Op's Driveway Connects Two Public Roads. Using it cuts 30 minutes off a trip between two cities. People dutifully stop using the driveway when Op puts up barriers. J.K. Of course not. Purchased 30 acres of land and built a house several years back in Central Florida. Had a driveway installed that cuts across the center of my property, allowing me to exit on either of two main roads. I now have traffic using my driveway as a shortcut between the two roads up to and including 18-wheelers and other large vehicles, since using my driveway cuts off nearly half an hour of travel time between two cities. I installed pillars and gates on both ends of the driveway and marked it private property, but the gates were torn down and the pillars knocked over. I have contacted the county about it and they sent out a guy from code compliance who looked around for a few minutes and left. I have now received a notice about not keeping the roadway to state standards and that the county will be out to perform maintenance bringing the roadway up to standards, i.e. widening it and repaving, which I will be personally responsible for paying for. I've told them if they want it to be a public road then fine by me out and I'll move elsewhere, but they refuse to do so. As of right now I have removed half the driveway past my house and put up signs and markers stating dead end road, and now the county is threatening to have me arrested for destruction of public property. Before anyone asks, no, there are no easements on this property anywhere near the area the driveway goes through, and no easements in any form that travel in that direction on the property. Closest thing is a power company easement along the southern edge of the land. County has basically turned my private property into public land without using eminent domain and without any compensation. As someone who also owns and lives on 30 acres, not in Florida, though, I am livid on your behalf. How close is this road to your house? How long has this been going on? Is your driveway paved? How did it end up on Google Maps? I just don't understand how this happens. Not that I'm suggesting it's at all your fault, it just seems so crazy. At a minimum, I'd be putting up cameras everywhere. And, personally, I'd already have retained a lawyer. Driveway is right beside my house, few feet off the carport. Up until a few years ago it was a non-issue, now it's nearly constant traffic day and night. Driveway was crushed gravel 1 car width when I put it in, now it's about 3 cars wide and dirt from all the traffic. It's so bad that my house is circled with cars driving around to avoid cars coming the opposite way. I have no clue how it ended up on Google Maps, but they have a street view of it and it's named. Not sure I should say what. People drive around your house? Like, in your front and backyards? When I first moved here and extended the driveway I rarely closed the gates off because I saw no need to. Once I started getting crossing traffic I'd close the gates up and they would end up damaged by getting rammed open. I've had locks cut, the gates physically lifted off the pins and throw aside, posts pulled out, block pillars pushed over after the posts were removed, mailbox driven over, plants in my yard driven over, water line from my well was crushed by heavy vehicles driving over it. I ended up putting in an inner fence and ditch to protect what's close to my house. It's like I am forced to live in a fort because of the cars and trucks going by. I got both UPS and Amazon using my driveway because it trims a lot of time off accessing their hubs in the center of the state. After I shut down the eastern half of the driveway the trucks would drive around the berm I had scraped up and eventually over. Once it got knocked down enough to clear it, then they drive across the lot over to where the driveway restarts and down it to the other road. Raised hell with the county commissioner for my district, showed them video and threatened to lawyer up. He pulled in the director for the road and bridge department, then pulled in the director of zoning and planning. My driveway is no longer a road and I am no longer being assessed for repairs, and I am legally allowed to do what is necessary to stop traffic from crossing my property, so both sides of the property have been ditched and bermed and a steel pole gate across the side I plan on keeping open. Sheriff's Department has been out multiple times dealing with people trying to enter the property, but they are starting to get the hint that road is closed. We are currently in negotiations for a portion of my property to be purchased and turned into a road, but not 10 feet from my house. There is a county commissioners meeting next Tuesday and it is on the docket to be brought up. My driveway is no longer on Google Maps as a road. Signage posted private property, no trespassing, dead end road, etc., etc., etc. Several people are angry about it as they are used to the pass-through, but with the cameras I have installed I've been able to get clear images of vehicles and license plates of the worst offenders, and they will be cited according to the sheriff's department. I have contacted Amazon and UPS about their trucks crossing my property. UPS has instructed their drivers to no longer use that route. Haven't heard a thing back from Amazon yet, but I have stopped 2 of their trucks so far, both of which were ticketed by the sheriff's department, and the one needing a tow to get pulled off the berm it got stuck on. Thank you all of you for the suggestions. Hopefully soon this will all be over and I can get on with my life. Sold a 60-foot wide stretch of my property to the county. They will be installing a 2-lane road along it this spring. The county has repaired the damage to my land caused by the vehicles driving over it by grading and sodding around my house in the worst areas and installing a paved drive across where my old gravel drive was. I now have a ditch across the edge of my property along both roadways with guardrails installed by the county and rather large I-beam mounted motorized industrial gates on both ends of the driveway. County has promised in writing to install a ditch and guardrail along the border of the new road when it is installed. I still get people attempting to enter the gates and cross the property from time to time, but much less often now, the vast majority of them being commuter vehicles, no commercial trucks. USPS no longer attempts to cross here, but I have still seen Amazon trucks drive up, stop and then move on down the road without attempting to enter the property. I am no longer on Google Maps as a public roadway. Had a suggestion via PM to check Waze and OpenStreetMap. Apparently Google got their info from one of them and assumed it was correct. All in all, I am satisfied with the outcome. The next story is entitled Mom Steals Disabled Parking Spot and Demands Our Place in the Line. So first of all, in my country, more specifically my state, when we have upwards of 3 corona cases, we go into a 3-day lockdown. It might seem over the top, but it works really well, and a week later we can lift restrictions. Anyway, we started a 3-day lockdown a few days ago, and the day before when it was announced, the stores were kind of packed. Panic buyers, etc. We had to grab some food, and I had to get some lady products. Usually, in a situation with 4+ COVID cases, I wouldn't leave the house. Only 29% of my lungs work, so COVID would be hard to survive for me, and in terms of a mask, I can't walk or be moving a lot if I'm in a mask or I hyperventilate. I do have a doctor's note, and even still I prefer to at least try to wear a mask. To all the Karens out there who claim to have a medical condition, suck it up and put on a mask. Anyway, I don't usually leave the house if there's COVID, but I had to this time, a la lady products. As well as this, we have my brother, who is younger than me but a smidge bigger. Anyway, he has profound autism, so he's non-verbal, and is at about the cognitive ability of a 2-year-old. He doesn't quite understand masks, but believe me, we do try. With both me and my brother being disabled, we do have a disability parking permit. Now, let our story begin. So we pull up to our local shop, and the parking lot is quite busy. This is a shop we frequently go to based on my lil brother's constant requests for Powerade and frozen pizza. We must appease him. When we go to park in disability, both spots are taken. We notice that the second spot is a car that backed into their park, and they do not have a disability sticker. They do though have a "cuties on board" sticker. Time is risk for me being outside, so this means we can't park in disabled, and due to the paths, we can't use the wheelchair except from that point. This means I can't wear a mask. So in we go, a weird large human screaming, "Woo," and a sticky girl without a mask. Most people don't go near us, so that's a plus. Wonder why though? For context, this is what the people at the store see. Anyway, this time we're stocking up for lockdown. We don't go too crazy, but my mum's Irish and she has the famine genes. So we get a bag of potatoes and ingredients for soda bread. I go off to get my lady supplies. When I get back, the store staff have called a code 1, which they frequently do when my brother comes in the store. Code 1 is to open a new register. This is because they like to keep him happy, he's scary. The store staff are pretty understanding of us, so they open another register, code 1. We head to this register and the staff member starts scanning our stuff. While we do this, our star of the story, entitled Mum, Karen, joins the register. She is holding a slobbering little boy without a mask. Which is fine, super young kids don't have to wear them, but it is still recommended. Karen is wearing a mask. Once again, for context, little big bro is not wearing a mask. We tried, but he poked a hole in it with his tongue. So he wasn't wearing a mask, nor was I, but my mum was. Karen. Excuse me, you opened a new register. Do you mind if I hop in front? I have to limit my talking to limit my exhaustion and risk of inhaling COVID, weird, but still. Mum. Sorry, no, we have to be quick, my daughter. Karen. Well, my son and I have places to be, and it's risky out here. The employee has stopped scanning to talk to the woman. My brother does not appreciate this. Staff dude. Ma'am, we usually open up another register for this gentleman, he. Karen. But it's about to be lockdown, my baby is so little he can't wear a mask. Keep in mind this kid looks 7. Karen. And you and your 2 grown children aren't even wearing a mask. Sir, to the staff dude, you should push them to the back of the line. Little big bro is growing more displeased. Staff dude. Ma'am, they really nay. Little big bro. Jumping up and down with all his might, woo woo. Karen screams and drags her child away, and that's that. We do see that she heads towards the car parked in disability, so that shows what a person she is. I understand that everyone's on edge, but like, my brother is visibly disabled. Earmuffs, wiggles shirt, etc. My mum didn't have time to apologize to Karen because I can't wear a mask and we don't have time. We pay nice staff dude and GTFO. Anyway, not as exciting as other Karen stories, but there ya go. The next story is titled Guy Gets Mad Because I'm Not a Nurse. This just happened at a gas station while I was on my lunch break. I work in animal care, so I wear scrubs. I'm in line and a guy comes up behind me, practically whispering in my ear, almost sensually, "You a nurse?" Creeped me out to begin with. Why are you so close to me and why are you whispering in my ear? I just said, no, sorry, and went back to my own little world. Why you dressed like a nurse? He asks, sounding a little annoyed with me. I work in animal care. We wear scrubs too. Usually I don't feel the need to explain myself, but I did anyway. Do you know where I can get a vaccine? Lots of places? I'm not sure about this area, you can Google it, or check the government website. How do you not know? Healthcare workers know this crap. I just don't, sorry. I say firmly, trying to end the conversation. Whatever, useless, and mutters away to himself. It's my turn in line, I pay and go to leave and this guy gives me such a dirty look. Like what the hell, man? I was super polite, and usually I'm not. Not everyone that wears scrubs is a human nurse, and not every healthcare worker knows at all times when and where you can be vaccinated. Google it. The next story is titled Get Your Own Cart. Our local Sam's Club is relatively busy and often runs out of carts inside because they can't keep up with the turnover. We also need 2 carts when we go because we have 2 babies in carriers, so they each go in a cart and we fill our groceries in around them. It's obviously a bulk store, so the packages are larger than normal. It was very rainy and when we got in, we realized there were no carts. I waited with the kids and my husband went outside and collected 2 carts for us in the pouring rain while a ton of people just stood there and waited. I could see people approaching him as he was walking in, asking for one of the carts, or just trying to take one and saying thanks. When he walked in, 5 people approached him and tried to take the carts from him and asked him why he couldn't get any more than just 2. I proceeded to load the girls in the carts and he continued to inform everyone he wasn't an employee, as they were very mad that he also didn't get them carts in the rain. One of them even went so far to complain to the customer service desk that one of their employees was pretending he wasn't an employee and not doing his job to get carts. The next story is titled I'm Not a Doctor, but I was an amateur gynecologist in high school. We owned a 24/7 business and I often worked overnights. I was also the emergency on-call person. On nights I didn't work, sleep was worth more than gold. I had, and still have, the most effed up sleep patterns and catch extra Z's whenever I can. I sleep very sound and deep. In fact, about the only thing that wakes me is my alarm and my phone ringing. This was a great skill to have when my kids were younger, as I often had to sleep when they were up and active. Cue my problem and temper. I would get calls from a doctor's answering service asking for the doctor. When the calls first started, I would tell them I wasn't the doctor. More than once I got a return call almost immediately from the same person who told me that, this is the doctor's home number. No, it's not, it's my number. Okay, I'll page him. After the first couple months, I started telling the service to tell the people to take 730 aspirin and call back next year. They then knew I wasn't the doctor and we'd have the annoying, you called the wrong number again, talk. Now, the more they called the more outrageous my cures got. FYI, masturbation and self-intercourse cures most illnesses, as per me. After almost 3 years of this annoying crap, I got a true emergency call from them that the doctor had to call because one of his patients came in suffering a heart attack. He was taking meds and other issues and they needed to confer with him about the appointment he had with the patient the day before. I hung up and called the myself. I got the doctor that needed to talk to the real doctor on the phone and told him. I am not the doctor and have had his answering service calling me about 3 years. I have told them numerous times but they never fixed the problem. This is the first life-threatening emergency they called with and I thought the best way to handle it was to call him and let him see if the hospital knew how to really get in contact with their colleague. I told him I understood this was a matter of life and death and I would not take any more of his time. I ended by giving him my number so he could compare it to the correct number to possibly check where the problem occurred, so it did not happen again. All this took less than a minute as I started the conversation with, "Please just listen." The doctor I was getting calls for was a PCP, primary care physician, a family doctor, not a cardiologist or brain surgeon. The calls I was getting for him were things like, "Little Johnny has a fever of 100.1, what should we do, can you refill my meds," things like that. I know I struck a nerve with the doctor because I never got another call from the doctor's answering service again. I hope the guy that had a heart attack is okay and I thank for getting my situation fixed. The next story is titled "You're Mexican, of course you work here." So there is this little Mexican restaurant I went with my family. While I was there I saw that the staff were white mostly. They all had dark green shirt with a little piggy and black pants. You can go refill your cup if you have a large cup. That's what I did when I got back to my table. I had to use the bathroom. As I was working towards the bathroom this woman grabs my arm and nearly pulled me down. I don't like when people touch me so I said, "WTF lady, get off." She started yelling at me, to get her food. I say back, "I don't work here, and get your hand off me now." I was yelling and people were starting to look so she just looked at me and said, "I don't think you know who you're talking to but don't talk to me like that again, and of course you work here, you're Mexican." I may have overreacted and I don't like being talked down to. She still had her hand on with a tight grip so I pulled my arm to my other side, and she came flying off her seat. Her friend that was with her was livid say, "How dare you, you, slur. We will send you back to Mexico." The woman that fell was crying and screaming. When these idiots were yelling I walked back to my table forgetting I had to use the bathroom. P.S. I did use the bathroom. My family heard the yelling but didn't see it happen. They asked what happened. I told that what happened. Then the manager rushed over to see what happened. They said, "This employee grabbed my arm and yanked me to the ground." They asked me what happened and I told them, and showed them the make of her hand on me. She tried saying I put that there but the manager said, "Why would he put a make there if doesn't know you or you then work here?" Anyway she got kicked out. I got a free meal so whatever. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.